Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you in queue to talk to us. We would love to hear your comments and your questions. And welcome to the show. Hi, Michael.
Hey, sweetie. Welcome, everybody, to MindShifters Radio. Our invitation, as usual, is to honor Memorial Day, honor Veterans Day, and everybody that's been forced to engage in that insanity called war, whether it's as a family member of one who's been forced to go and kill or be killed or injured and maimed, and or the traumas brought back to the whole society from that insanity. And our invitation is about inviting each of you to join us. And if you find yourself in any form of hostility or fear, that you're willing to own that hostility or fear, to stop pretending, which most of the world does when they're in hostility or fear, that it's all somebody else's fault, to take responsibility and to move through those states through forgiveness. The word forgive in our culture is thought of as something I do to let you off the hook or let myself off the hook for what's happening inside of me. And the ancient Aramaic has nothing to do with that whatsoever. The ancient Aramaic idea of forgiveness is that you remove everything in you that is unlike your true nature, everything in you that is based in hostility or fear. So instead of the pretense that my hostility and fear is all about what you just said or what you just did, to recognize that my hostility or fear is about the content in my mind, and when I allow myself to go there, I violate the first law to human existence. You know, when they talked about this idea of love, and they talked about loving neighbor, loving creator, as though it's some kind of a thing you do for them, the truth is it's nothing to do with somebody else. The state, love is the presence of a human life. It is not an action you do toward another. What the man Yeshua was inviting you to do 2,000 years ago was to first and foremost maintain your human life. Above all, maintain your human life. If you give up your human life to hostility or fear, then you're in trouble. Your body's going to start to fall apart. Your mind is going to dysfunction. Your emotions are going to run crazy. And so the first law to human existence was maintain this thing called a human life. And as you do, everything starts to change. And we're looking to support that change happening on the earth and creating a different game than the game of denial and dissociation, blame, and it's all somebody else's fault. So love is presence, not action. What the man Yeshua 2,000 years ago was inviting you to do was to maintain your human life. Hold a newborn child if you have a question about what a human life is. And when you hold that newborn child, you know exactly what a human life is. That directive that said love toward creator and neighbor was a directive to maintain this presence, this state of being that you are. And so as you maintain that presence, then a certain quality of speaking and action will come from your human life. And it won't be like hostility or fear. It'll be a whole different game. And so as you recognize that, then you start to realize that the purpose of the world, if you're destroying yourself with hostility, fear, grievances, is that it's going to come and show you your hostility, your fear, and your grievances. And if you use the tool of forgiveness, then you'll move through and out of your hostility, fear, and grievances, and you'll simply stand as a human being, whatever somebody else is doing. Nobody else can determine the state of your mind or physiology. Only you can take responsibility for that. And so if you have a capacity to experience any form of hostility or fear, first order of business, maintain your human life. Maintain the presence of love in you. That's the first law to human existence. And that's what we're here to, of course, learn and to teach and to support each mind, heart, and being on the planet coming to the point where, regardless of what anybody else does, they live a human life. And they give up the capacity for rage, for grief, for anger, for fear, for sadness, for hatred, for vengeance. And so that's what our project is about, and we're delighted to be sharing with you. If you're not sure about how that forgiveness process might work, we invite you to go to our website, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. And if you look at those links, you'll see where it gives you the actual worksheet itself. The first 7 links actually will tell you the whole story. The worksheet itself is there. Chapter 24 of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, that explains the forgiveness process is there. And then there are 5 radio shows. Each of the radio shows has a full explanation. We walk somebody through the whole worksheet process. Of course, there are hundreds of shows on the website that you can go and listen to acquaint yourself with the subtleties of this work. But those first 5 links are 1-hour shows where we walk somebody through the whole worksheet process. And so if you're having challenges with it, give it a listen. It'll tell the whole story. And if you still have questions, please pick up the phone. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Call in. Share your question with us. Share your concern with us. And we'll be here to support you in learning the tool of forgiveness. So, Jeanie, do we have Dr. Tim with us, David with us, Heartland crew, Intensa, or go ahead.
David is not, but Dr. Tim is.
Well, hello, Dr. Tim. How do you be, sir?
Well, apparently I'm not as busy as David. Getting ready for the business down there. It's quite a job.
There are about 15 people on the property. Actually, they started last night, so they're underway.
Wow. So is Ari down there already?
Ari is there, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Ari arrived yesterday, and they're getting ready to do some food classes and everything moving forward. Food, fun, forgiveness, and work project for the next 10 days. So that's what's underway at Heartland. And
Fabulous.
I've actually got another workshop here in Birmingham tonight. If anybody wants to come join us, 7 o'clock tonight, we'll be doing codependence to interdependence here at Unity of Birmingham. And then tomorrow, MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. And immediately after MindShifters and Still Point Breathing, I'll be on the road heading to Heartland to participate in food, fun, forgiveness, and work projects.
Fabulous.
So that's what's happening on this end. Yeah, it is fabulous. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be able to take it all under and to do what it takes to bring it together. And it's never easy to do. Nobody will ever know what it takes to put the whole project together. But it's certainly a fun and awesome opportunity. And when you look at people in past ages and days that have done this, we have it so easy compared to what they did. So we're blessed to be able to do it. You have anything on your mind today, Dr. Tim?
Well, I'm prepping for giving the talk at Unity in Woodstock on Sunday, and the talk is about how lessons ride in on the back of events, or the other title that was given to it is how to like or love or want or be okay with whatever happens in your life. And the theme, of course, is trying to find a way to find a perspective to look at whatever happens in life through which I can see that if any form of hostility or fear is stirred up in me, that's a gift. I've just been made aware of an energy that was destroying me without my awareness. And now that
Yes.
I have the awareness of it, with the proper awareness and the proper tools, I can remove that energy from my system and allow healing. And it's very difficult to do at times, especially with the way we're conditioned to look at the world and some of the very disruptive events that happen in our lives. When cars don't start, or homes get repossessed, or loved ones die, and all of these events that happen are just events. All events are neutral, and it's critically important for me to learn how to choose a filter for looking at these events and my role in them and my choice of how to interpret them and how to respond to them, because that's what creates my experience, not the event. The event doesn't create what goes on inside of me. The event simply resonates within me something that I can either choose to release, or I can have resistance to and reject the lesson and then just solidify the nature of myself, the anger, the bitterness, the fear, the judgment that met that moment in the first place, and then just greatly increase the probability that the next time a similar situation happens, I will be even more bitter and angry and resentful and hurt and scared. And so I'm thinking about all of those things and how they're going to come together for the talk on Sunday.
Cool. Well, I as you speak of that, I think about Einstein's statement that says if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. And his idea that matter doesn't exist. And as we look around at what's going on in our minds, we see that obviously matter does exist, and obviously we're in separate bodies, or so it appears. And that's an appearance generated in the mind by the content of the mind. And so if we've been taught separateness, if we've been taught bodies, then we totally override the truth. You know, it's kind of like we still talk about the sun rising, and we know that it's the earth moving around the sun, but there's an idea thousands of years old, and we still haven't given it up, that the sun moves around the earth. And it's just not true. And so many things that we engage in aren't true, and when we feel comfortable in our hostility or fear, even though it's based on something that's not true, we resist changing that. We resist heading in the direction of truth. And we think that, well, this anger, this resentment, whatever it is justified because of what you did. And we cut out, or we deny and dissociate from the part of us that is being damaged by that being held on to. And so when you recognize the fact that that dissociated information becomes the root of the picture that our mind shows us of a separate body that is the problem in our lives, that body that is the seemingly cause of our pain and turmoil is a symbol that our body's mind generates out of what we've hidden from ourselves. So they become the symbol of our hostility. You go, you really make me angry, and the truth is, you're not angry because of what anybody else did. You're angry because in you there's anger. And, take a look at how much of your life you spent in that kind of anger, frustration, pain, or trauma, fear, grief, rage, and then start recognizing that everybody that you see isn't there. There aren't any bodies out there. There's an energy system. There's something different going on. And that every body that you put your hostility or fear on, it's got nothing to do with them. It's got to do with the content of your mind, and begin investing in emptying the content of your mind so you get back to, I live a human life. I actually accept the words of the man that said, the first law is maintain your human life. Keep love present in your physiology. It's such a tall order in this insane world with all the pictures we've been brainwashed with that it's all somebody else's fault. It's certainly a big project.
Indeed. And despite the size of the project and the length and intensity of the conditioning, I just want to go on record as saying it's worth the effort. The effort to remove what doesn't belong in my system is paying off.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Our friend Guy Finley talks about resistance as being a lesson stealer. Because we can't learn anything when we're resisting it. We can't learn from anything when we're resisting the thing, the person, or the event. And another way he talks about it is to say that because of our conditioning and because...
Could you also, while you're doing this, rotate the tires? Could you rotate them too while you're doing it?
Michael, you don't have your mute on. Michael, you do not have your mute on. You don't have your mute on.
Oh.
You just asked everybody on the radio show to rotate your tires.
Okay, well, my mute button showed it was on. Is it? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my mute button showed it's on, so what can I say? My apologies. I'm in getting some repairs done to my van. We're on the road. So anyway, but yeah, when you talk about that resistance, where there's resistance in the structure, active love cannot enter. That's the challenge of it, is love is blocked out of the tissue where there is resistance. And therefore, healing can't happen. And on an energetic level, it's when you soften that tissue and you breathe into that tissue, when you open it, that you can start to clean out the hostility, the fear, the grief, the rage, and the pain. And one of the reasons the project's such a huge one is because we've got so many generations of this crazy stuff in there. So many generations of trauma and pain. You know, you look at that story about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years. And how do you get lost in a 30 square mile area for 40 years? It isn't speaking about a physical journey or a physical place. And they said in order to get out of the desert, which is that state of unconsciousness and blame, is you've got to, the old generation has to die off. And that doesn't mean everybody in old physical bodies has to physically go. You have to face the part in yourself that holds cause. The root of the word generation is janari, is cause. You have to go to that part of yourself that holds cause for your hostility and fear, bring the presence of love there, and dissolve the insanity. And it's a tall order in a world that thinks that rage and fear and grief is good and useful and helpful and, you know, it just keeps me safe. When in fact it's the very opposite. It destroys me, and just holding some form of hostility or fear resonates or draws in, invites attack. So it is quite an interesting project.
Yeah, and Guy talks about because of the intensity of our conditioning and the misdirection that lets me think that when my alarm system goes off internally, it means something's wrong outside of me. He says we've essentially become lesson intolerant. And
that's a good way to see it.
And we cling to the resistance, which is the lesson stealer, and we are just not tolerant of the change that needs to happen in order for us to become what we say we want to become. We say we want to be a nicer, more loving, more compassionate, more gentle person. We say we want to be enlightened. We say we want to be different today than we were yesterday when we were mean to someone, and yet the very events that life brings to us to help show us what needs to be removed from our system, we reject.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really very bizarre when you look at how it all works. It's pretty crazy.
And one of the things that I like about your work is that you're presenting the structure and the dynamics of how the system works and tools that aid in the process so it can become possible for people to realize that there is no event that is greater than their ability to transform themselves into a more loving, more compassionate human being.
Absolutely. Then, of course, the person who wants to bring that lesson to you, if you're in denial and dissociation, becomes the object of derision and hostile feelings. You're causing this in me. This is all your fault. And I love that. That's a great way to say it. Lesson intolerant. No, on one hand, one will be in self-deprecating. Oh, I've got so much to learn. I'm so far down the ladder. I started out so far down the ladder. I've got so much to do. But then when the stress is up and the chips are down, they're perfect. They know everything, and nobody can say anything that would show them where their blockage is, where their challenge is. They're in turmoil and trauma, but it's all everybody else's fault. And the conversation is just such an old addictive habit when one's in some sort of trauma and turmoil to deny ownership for it and to go into a conversation about somebody else. Well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't be feeling this. It's like, excuse me, if you didn't have that feeling in you, you wouldn't be feeling that. But it's such a huge piece of learning to build the brain cells, to move to that place and to really, truly honor, yes, I choose to live the protocol, the first law. What comes first? If you had a medical problem and you went to a doctor and the doctor says, oh, we have a protocol for healing that. Absolutely, 100% of the time people come out of the other side of this disorder, this problem, and they feel fantastic, better than they ever have. They're in higher states of health. They're doing just awesomely well. So here's the protocol. And you take the protocol home and you say, gee, I have to do this and I have to do that. And then heck, I'm not going to do that. I just want the disease to heal. What Yeshua gave 2,000 years ago was a protocol for maintaining a human life. And if you don't do what comes first, you can't heal. The person who says, the first thing I have to do is, the doctor says I have to drink more water. I have to drink 3/4 of a gallon of water every day if I want to heal this ABC disease that's so painful and so traumatic. That's the protocol. First thing is, I don't like drinking water, so I'm not going to do it. Okay? So now you stick to your diseases. Yeshua talked about people 2,000 years ago. He said, you'll come to me saying all the right words. You'll chatter and matter about, all the wonderful things you love about me and what I've done. But when I tell you, here's the protocol, here's what you have to do first, you're going to tell me to go to hell. You'll come to me chattering with your mouth, but your heart is far from me. And if you're capable of hostility or fear, then come on board, do the work, and clean it up. It's not that big a deal when you go into willingness, but certainly the resistance is a big one. And interestingly enough, in the Aramaic language, and so much has been turned around when it was translated out of Aramaic into Greek. The Aramaic language, the name of Satan is a lowercase word, and it means the resistor, one who misleads. And the resistance is inside of ourselves, and the stories about this is justified because I said and you did and you should have and you didn't and therefore you are. That's all the resistance, and that's all being misled. That's literally in Aramaic. Being trapped in Satan. The Greeks made it easy. Just watch for the dude with the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork. He's tricky. Well, his trick is that you think he's outside of you, and he isn't a he. It's your own internal state of resistance, and when in resistance, your mind will hallucinate all kinds of reasons why. Well, yeah, I believe in that guy Yeshua, but look, right now, you deserve my rage. You deserve my hostile feelings. You made me feel this way. Well, you just kissed off Yeshua in his teaching when you do that. So don't pretend that you actually have any interest in it if you're not willing to do it. The key is you got to be willing to do it. The man said, here's what you do. The first thing was maintain condition of love in your mind. Maintain your human life. And if you can't, then accept the support. There's work. I have work to do. Okay. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean you're bad, wrong, evil, nasty, any of those things. It just means I have work to do. So, okay, I'll go out. I'll do my work. Can you support me? Gee, I'm feeling this upset and this hostility. What do you see? How can you support me? I know I'm in blockage of truth. I know my mind's telling me a lie, so help me undo my lies. And most people would rather just hang with their pain and keep pounding on somebody else that it's all somebody else's fault. So forgiveness is the key, and our phone number is 646-200-4169. If you were sitting face-to-face with Jeanie and Dr. Tim and I right now having this conversation, would you have a question? Would there be something about it that you deepen my understanding of that, or I don't agree with this, or how does that work? Would you have that question? then my request of you, if you're on the phone, is push 1. Ask your question. If you're not on the phone, pick up the phone or get in the chat room. Ask your question. We're here to support you. And, of course, the show is always a lot more fun and more alive when we have somebody who has a question. So, Jeanie, do we have any callers or anything with questions or anything happening in the chat room that we need to know about?
No, David was on the line until just a second ago, and then he disappeared. So I don't know. I was going to welcome him on, but he's not on there anymore. So he must have had
they're
to
probably
go.
in the middle of one. I'm sure they've got lots going on.
Somebody did just raise their hand, though. Area code 541. You're on the air.
541, welcome to the show. Who we talk to? Hey.
You have Julie again from Ashland, Oregon. Hi.
Welcome, young lady.
Hi. Well, things are moving along. A lot of insights and healing coming through, and I'm so grateful for the reflection of your discussion today because it lines right up, as it always does. One thing I noticed to continue my observance of what's going on with Ed, my friend who has cancer, and it's like such a paradox to me that he is so loving. He holds such a loving presence, and he can just touch me on my heart and bring me back to a state of love if I'm not there. And so he knows the energy, and he's able to extend it to others. But for himself, it's just a huge puzzle. So, and that's true, I think, for me. My own puzzles are harder for me than other people's puzzles.
It's for all of us. It's that way for all of us. We all have our own blockage of truth. And, I believe what I believe, and if you can see the error in my belief, then you're the one who can support me. I can't see what I'm in blockage of truth of. But I can see that I have an indicator, hostility, fear, disease, disorder. I have an indicator that I'm in blockage of truth, so please support me. Show me where my blockage is. And as that opens, I may get into some resistance, some hostility, some fear, but as it opens, I'll gently move through that and let go of it. Or, of course, I'll blame you, and it'll be all your fault, and I'll want to talk about you and tell you what you did wrong and straighten you out. And Yeshua, of course, would say to you, if you're in pain or turmoil, why are you trying to take the speck out of your brother's eye while you have a beam in your own? What's going on for somebody else is not your business. If you're in pain or turmoil, your work is your business.
So the real key factor is, if there's resistance, is going for the openness, and using the tools to get to the openness, and then being in the openness so that the work can continue there. To be removing.
Give me just 1 second. Radio show, and so I'm just going to tell them. No, I'm just going to get my wife to take over. Jeanie? Pam?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I've got the gentleman here who's got the part in his hand that he's got some things to explain to me about, so I'm going to just leave the show for a couple minutes. If you guys could take it over, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, you were not on mute again.
Okay, well, my new mute button isn't working then. Okay, I'm just going to turn the phone off then, and I'll call back in. Thanks, sweetie.
Okay. So,
Well, hi.
Julie, hi, Julie. So what you're saying is definitely a challenge sometimes, but.
Yeah, the openness, though, is the key point to get to, and then if we don't know what to do next, that's where we feel vulnerable, I think, and want to cover up and use some old coping mechanism. But if we know the tool, first of all, the wisdom of staying open and letting what doesn't belong flush out and dissolve and keep loving, bringing the loving presence, then that can bring the shift from what we were resisting. I think those are the key factors, I think. Anyway, you know what? I love you.
Well, we love you too, and thank you for your willingness to work through it and holding the space for Ed, and we all hold the space for him too, and each of us are where we need to be at the moment to learn whatever it is that we need to learn.
That's true. A much bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead. Do you have another caller? I'll just go ahead and let go.
I don't. No, there is nobody else on the line right now, and so feel free if you have another question.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe it might be interesting if you wanted to talk about dreams, because I do a lot of writing, and I ask Holy Spirit and Ruka Takucha, for guidance in my next steps of healing, and and I'll get something in that moment of writing, and then I'll sleep on it, and I'll wake up in a dream that's showing me, in this case this morning, the great resistor, and where that fear came from that set up a pattern in me for feeling like I needed to be on guard and resisting and protecting all the time. So, do you have anything more that you could add to how dreams work in our process?
Well, it's interesting how you said that, because my son yesterday morning was just talking about a dream that he had been having repeatedly. It wasn't the identical same dream, but he was dreaming about a large mountain lion. And like one dream, it was just like in the distance, and he was like watching it. And then another dream he had a different night, he was actually trying to fight off this mountain lion. And, so it's like it's still about the mountain lion, but it's a different dream each time. And we were talking about, what did that mean? And he felt like it was, something that perhaps he felt like a impending danger or something. And so, we were just discussing it. I'm not a dream interpreter, so I don't know. I do believe that you should journal your dreams and, write down and ask Ruka, to show you if there's something there that you need to know or something you need to act on. I think that our dreams come from the exact same place as our waking dreams are, and that there's messages in there, and sometimes it comes to us in kind of a convoluted way. It's maybe our mind's way of trying to present something to us in a more acceptable or understandable way, and then sometimes it seems like it's more confusing. But I definitely think that there's something in dreams, but I am not an interpreter. I don't know.
Yeah, it's energy too, actually, and then it's sort of a projection from our minds, maybe not in our daily life quite, but somewhere there's a continuity. The symbols. I mean, a lot of symbols repeat, and anyway, the soul, I recognized them. They were perfectly suited to what I needed to see, if I'm willing and open to learning from them. So it's great. I mean, we're really in good hands if we just follow the process that Jesus taught.
Yeah,
And I'm also recognizing how it needs to be just daily, because when we get too comfortable, then things get out of their control.
Right. Yeah, and we all have all of the answers. It's like even in our waking time, there's the intuition, the gift that we all have. It's a spiritual gift, and it's just that we don't always listen. One of the clearest times that I was given a message and I did listen, I was actually taking some people back to the airport after one of the intensives and was driving along and getting ready to pass an 18-wheeler, and something just said back up. And so I slowed down and backed up, and about that time his recap came off of his tire and just went flying across the road. And if I'd kept on to pass him, it would have hit the side of my car. Now, whether it would have, just hurt my car, or whether it would have startled me enough that it would have wrecked me or what, I don't know. But that was one very clear time, because as soon as I backed off and that thing flew, I was like, whoa. I heard the message that time and listened, But we all have that all the time. It's just, we're so busy with other stuff that we don't hear. And,
yeah. And so once we do start to listen and hear, we're living life as it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
The best it can get in the situation we happen to be finding ourselves, which we just have a lot of residual unconscious.
Well, and being controlled by that unconscious dynamic. Can you hear me, sweetie?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, being controlled by that unconscious dynamic was in a symbol from the ancient teachings, was called being controlled by Goliath. there's David and Goliath, and David has these 5 smooth stones, these 5 spiritual faculties with which he takes apart the raging maniac that wants to think it's in control of everything and holds all this rage and fear and grief and pain. And, virtually everybody who touches into this work resolves, I'm going to be loving from now on. That's how I'm going to function. And that's what they do until the next time the stress is up and the chips are down. And that new choice is wiped out. It's gone. It's like a joke that you chose to be loving. And when the stress is up and the chips are down, Goliath takes over and you're back to doing war. And, you have to reapproach that healing process of dismantling that Goliath mind over and over and over and over again until you finally get done with it.
Yeah. Like Jesus did that. He kept saying, "Get thee behind me."
Right. And push.
Yeah. We have to step into the power of who we really are, and the love that is really our power given to us. Well,
so that's what we're here for, and we're here to support you in healing everything in you around what's happening with Ed. And, of course, we certainly support Ed in his process and hold the space for him.
Yeah, and it's coming through in ways that are working for him. So we'll just see if we can just see how it goes. And thank you for that. So I guess I'll let you have your show.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 9 days or 10 days.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
Cool. Fabulous.
You too.
Well, we'll just hope that excitement is maintained the first time that the stress comes up and the chips are down at the intensive, and up comes Goliath and wants to take over. We'll hope that excitement reigns in that situation.
Yes, I'm going to look Goliath straight in the eyes.
There you go. Can I quote you on that?
Yes.
All right.
Please remind me.
I know you've never looked Goliath straight in the eye while I was around before.
Well, I had a lot of fear going on.
Well, that's Goliath stuff. That's Goliath.
Okay. Well, I trust you. I do.
All right.
I trust myself. I trust my commitment. So, yes.
Fabulous.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, well, take care. Travel safely, Hardy. Bye-bye. 646-200-4169 is our calling number. You got a comment, question, thought, answer. You need some refinement or some support with the worksheet. That's what we're here to do. Jeanie, you got any callers? Anything? How's the chat room doing? Anything happening there that we can be aware of?
No. Peacemaker was just giving me some their perception of the dream. We were talking about dreams. I don't know if you caught what all Julie was asking, and I shared something that Ryan had been talking about, and what a dream meant, and that it comes from your unconscious too, and that there are messages there if we just tap in and listen. And so Peacemaker was actually giving me their perspective on the dream, and it fits perfectly with what Ryan and I talked about. So that's the conversation in the chat room, and nobody has their hand up. There's several people holding on the switchboard, so if you're out there and you want to ask a question, press 1, and it lets me know to turn you on so that you can talk.
Now's the time. We've got about 20 minutes left in the show. We would love to hear your sweet voice and hear your questions. How can we support you? What's your highest thought? Dr. Tim, do you have any thoughts on the conversation?
Well, I would just add, support what was being said about dreams. My brain doesn't turn off when I go to sleep at night. Certain parts of it, reducing, not eliminating, but toning down the sensory receptors. But if somebody shines a bright light in my eye when I'm in moderate to light sleep, it'll register in my eye and it'll wake my brain. And if somebody slams a car door when I'm in moderate to light sleep outside on the street, it will probably get the sound strong enough to my ear to register in my brain and wake me up. So the brain is wide awake and processing things all the time I'm sleeping. What goes to sleep is the part of me that worries about all of my social etiquette and whether or not I'm drooling or snoring or what my, you know how particular I am about my hair.
There you go.
And whether or not it's getting mussed up. And so the thing that's gone to sleep is that the thing that they call the superego. It's the part that's going to keep everything in the same status. And so the images and associations that come up when I'm dreaming are the same kinds of images and associations and issues that I've struggled with when I was awake, but I was too busy and I put denial and suppression mechanisms into place and I moved on through it and I didn't slow down and feel the feeling. And so now it's bubbling up without any of the filters. And so they can be very emotional, they can be very bizarre, but my dreams are only going to be further processing of my issues. And so there are a lot of wonderful ways to find different meanings for your dreams and take different lessons from them. And I don't think that there's any one that's better than another. I think it's a matter of personal taste. And I think as soon as you learn a particular system for dream analysis, then it's like learning a language. And then your mind will start dreaming according to that language you've learned. So, have at it. Find somebody that's got a book, or find somebody who does Jungian analysis or Freudian analysis, and any language you choose, and then you learn it, can help you to reveal the messages in your dreams. But there will always be more than one message for every dream. It's not like, well, this is what this dream was about. It's more like, oh, here's a learning I can take from this dream. One of the fabulous things that happened in graduate school was one of our professors volunteered to bring in a dream, and he had 3 of his fellow professors each do an analysis of that dream. And
right.
Each of the 3 provided an analysis which was quite different from the other 2, and they all made very good sense. And so he had 3 different levels of message he could take from that dream, and we all have that. So don't be afraid of it. As Jeanie said, journal your dreams, write them down, find somebody to support you in exploring them, and get on with the lessons.
Well, and another thing to understand is whatever language you learn is the language you dream in when you appear to be awake. The fact is that our sleeping dreams come from exactly the same place as our nighttime dreams. And when our daytime dreams. Most people have a whole series of vignettes that they string together from different parts of their lives. And those dreams, those images, those pictures, those realities are written in the words, the language that one learned as a child. And if one learned the language of, I'm not good enough, hostility, fear, to be safe, I have to be in control, if that's the language they learned in, then today every circumstance that shows up will elicit a vignette, a dream. And that little dream will be in the language that we learned. The thing that Yeshua came to teach us was to undo the dream and to come into a dream that comes from a language that is spoken in the words of the Creator, which is the language of love. That we start to do our waking daytime dreams. The images that we hold come from the active presence of love in us, not from the presence of hostility or fear. There's an interesting group called the Pachamama Alliance, and this is a group of people who started to work with the Ashuar Indians in Ecuador. And the Ashuar Indians are a group of people who live in remote jungle areas. They've never seen civilization, never seen white men before, and all of a sudden, the mining interests, the multinational corporations that love to rape countries all over the world, go in and they want to take their forest and they want to log their trees and they want to mine their gold and they want to pump their oil. And the Ashuar Indians being in tune with a higher self, had the guidance. Though they had no modern technology or modern knowledge, they had the guidance to contact some people in the United States, and they did. And they formed an alliance. And the Oshawa Indians are the first group of people in the world that have ever gotten a government legislation system to pass a law that says the earth has rights. And so in Ecuador, those laws were passed. And the Oshawa Indians basically said that the Western mind is lost in a dream world, and its dream is insane. And what it needs is a new dream. And if you're living in a world where hostility separates you in your relationships, where you've got someone that you say, oh, I cherish you, I love you, I will honor you forever, and then when the stress is up and the chips are down, you turn around in some emotional way or with emotionalized words puke on them, that's where you need a new dream. And forgiveness is about letting go of the old dream, letting go of the brain cells from 1,000 generations of hostility or fear, confronting that, removing that literally forgiveness is how to remove that content from your mind and be restored to your true essential nature, which is this awesome active presence of love. That's what we're designed for. And so to get to the point where all the dreams your brain serves up, whether it's sleeping or waking, are dreams based in your human beingness, dreams based in love. And as you convert your mind, and it's about conversion, and conversion hasn't got to do with bringing somebody into your church. It's about we being converted back to a love-based mind. You hold the newborn child. You know exactly what it is that fuels that child's mind. You can feel it. You can sense it. You don't have to think about it. It's just there, and it is this awesome active presence of love. And the world goes about instantly converting the child to an hostility and fear-based mind. And by the age of 2, the child who's been plugged into love continuously gets to the point where, in its helplessness, gives up its relationship, its direct knowledge of love, and buys into an hostility and fear-based dream world. And the terrible twos ensue. Then abuse is done to tame the child and bring them into harmony with the dream of insanity. And the child loses its essence on deeper and deeper levels. It loses its power supply, and by the age of 4 is pretty much dead. Then, within 70 or 80 years, a body that has not got a proper power supply falls over from a lack of connectedness and dies. What we're looking to do is to support enough people, to get enough people who will uproot the dreams based in hostility or fear, the dreams of you made me, and to forgive those dreams and to replace them with the dreams of the Creator. The dreams of the Creator for you are all based in this awesome active presence of love. You were made in the image and likeness of that love. You are designed to be restored to that love. But if you have warring dreams within you, hostile and fearful dreams within you, then that love just isn't available. And it is a long, slow process to dismantle the dreams based in hostility or fear, to forgive all of those dreams. Not let somebody else off the hook because you're having those dreams, but to forgive all of those dreams. Your very capacity to produce any form of hostility or fear, whatever circumstance you're living in. You know, you look at that example that Yeshua used. He goes in to the Garden of Gethsemane and he detoxes his dreams based in his culture, his hostility and fear-based dreams. He sweats blood. Now, of course, there are people who say, oh, well, no, he was the perfect one. Of course, they don't want to listen to him because when they said, you perfect one, he says, why do you call me perfect? None of us is perfect, only one. And it's not me. But nobody wants to listen to that. No, we have to make somebody the model so that we don't have to live up to the standard. So he detoxes, he sweats blood and blows off that energy of those dreams of violence, and he steps out from the Garden of Gethsemane, and there's the high priest servant who, when he's injured, he just holds to the dream of love, even though this man is going to have him mercilessly slaughtered, and he reaches out and he heals him. To which some people say, well, that sounds crazy, that got him dead. Yeah, that got him dead, but they couldn't keep him that way. Do you think a dream It reconnects you to your true being, might be the gateway and the doorway to eternal life. That's what he demonstrated for us. It wasn't about the suffering. It wasn't about the pain. It wasn't about the blood. That's a dream of violence that says, this is the way you get back to the Creator, and it's a fraud. Anything based in any form of verbal, emotional, or physical violence is a fraud, and there's nothing to do with the Creator's world. The Creator's world is about this awesome active presence of love that you're designed for. And you're designed to live in that mind that the man Yeshua lived in. And what you will bring forward into the world is this awesome active presence of love that you are. And when we can get a critical mass of people doing that, we are going to transform this whole game on planet Earth. From one of hostility, fear, war, we've slaughtered over 200 million people in the last century. We're going to bring forward a different world. And it's going to be a world where this awesome presence of love that the child comes in with is supported all its life. It's never taught anything different. Now, that may seem like the impossible dream. Guess what? It's the only natural way to go. It's what we are naturally inclined toward. And that's why the world pounds so hard on us with its hostilities and fears. That's why virtually every word you hear coming out of the television set has to do with hostility and fear. Rarely do you hear a word based in love. So we're here to support a new game in town. And if anybody has a thought or a question or an answer, we'd love to hear from you. 646-200-4169. Jeanie, do you have any callers?
No, nobody has their hand up or anything. So we're down to 8 minutes. Press 1 if you have a question.
Do you have a thought for us, sweetie?
No, not right at the present. I'm kind of still in my own process. So.
Cool. Dr. Tim, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's probably time to reiterate the call for action, because we're living in a time when there's more spiritual knowledge available through more channels than probably ever before, with the connectedness of the internet and all of the different ways people have found to market their wisdom, and knowledge without application and action is just a weight. It's just going to drag us further into the muck.
Yes.
And if you can't act out the knowledge, then there's no wisdom in it, no matter how pretty or poetic or powerful it seems. And, many of us at different times spend so much time pursuing the next right answer, the next technique, the next diet, the next meditation, that we become master seminar attendees, but we're not master human beings. We're not masters of love. We haven't mastered the ability to stay in the space of love, fight the outside events. And so I would just like to put out the call once again for anybody who hasn't already done it, who has the slightest interest in this work, to either join a support group or start your own support group, or just on your own make the commitment to start dealing with every situation, or just a few in every week, situations that come up that stir up any form of negativity within you, and actively pursue dismantling that negativity without blaming it on the outside circumstances, without thinking that your anger or fear or pain proves that somebody else is wrong. Because I better hope that if I'm in pain, I'm wrong, Because if I'm right, 100% right, and I'm in this much pain, then there's no hope for me.
Oh, you got that one. That's a good way to say it.
You know, my
so
being
often,
in pain and anger isn't proof that I'm right. It's only proof that I don't know what rightness is in that moment.
And of course, we all think we're right that the event caused my suffering, when the truth is, it's my suffering that caused the event. It's my suffering that drew the event that I'm currently blaming things on, and as I take responsibility, I get to move through that and change it.
Well, and I would just like to put out there that in our support group alone, and it's just one support group, we've had 3 or 4 people in the last 5 or 6 weeks who have never done a worksheet before, or only their 3rd or 4th worksheet, and they approached it with willingness and honesty, and they were blown away by the results of a single worksheet. Tears, hugs, relief, shift of perspectives, dropping of huge weights, and we're talking about things that were major life events: the death of a spouse, the pending death of a nephew, the 20-year family battle and anger and resentment. And each of these things had powerful shifts with the application of one worksheet that was approached with willingness and honesty. So the power of the tool is there for you to discover, and we just offer any support we can in helping you pick up the tool and apply it to your life.
Absolutely. That's absolutely what we are here for.
So once again, Michael and Jeanie, I thank you both for your efforts and support and making this internet show possible, and the support and encouragement you're giving to so many people, including me. And I look forward to seeing you before long down at Heartland.
Amen, and that's fabulous. And we appreciate your support, and it's really fabulous when we can count on you when we're challenged as we're traveling for assistance. That's much appreciated. So, Jeanie, any final thoughts? I think we're down to just the last 2 minutes or so.
We do. We have two and a half minutes left, so probably not time for a caller. But definitely go to a couple things. One is our new website, www.whyagain.com. The new site's going to be .org, so it's not totally up and functioning yet, but we're getting there. So go out and play with it and test it and look around. It's going to be phenomenal. And the other thing is that there's so many other things going on in my life right now that I've been putting the links to the shows out there, but I have not been listing what was covered during that show. So anybody that wants to help support this work and just has a little bit of time from your own home, if you have a chance to listen to the archives and kind of give me one-liners or something of what each show covered, give me the date and what it was about, that would help, and then I'll get that out on the website. Because right now all it's got right now is dates, and you can go and click and listen to the archived shows, but I sure haven't had time to I've been working with the new site and haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to some of the things on the old site. So I would appreciate that support. If anybody out there wants to do that and has time to do that, that would be great. And you can contact me, send that to Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.com, and that would be awesome. I would appreciate it. Sorry, the dogs are barking in the background.
So if you would, if you listen, we're just asking everyone, if you listen to a show on the archive, please write a brief summary of it and send it to us, date, and that would be awesome. That's a great idea, sweetie. And we're down to about the last 45 seconds, so we're going to close the show out and just say, everybody, if you're ready for an intensive, we start on July 23rd with a 9-day. Come and play with us. Bring a stranger to the show on Monday. We appreciate you. We bless you. We honor you. And we support you in having the best year yet of your eternal life. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.